Hey guys, it's Tronda, Miss GHI, coming to you guys to give you a little bit about my story. A lot of people see me and they don't realize that I've had an extremely interesting life. Um, we'll just say at the age of 6 months old, my mother, she was holding me in her hand, or should I hold me in her arm? And she said she went to place me down on the bed. She saw blood, and the blood was basically all over me. She checked me. She looked at me and she turned around, and the blood wasn't coming from me. It was coming from her. She had just been shot by my dad. He was a very abusive man. She turned around and she had just been shot by him. Point blank range. She was shot through her shoulder, and the blood that she was seeing that was on me was her blood. Y'all, at the same time, the side that she got shot on was the side she was holding me on. This is basically how you know, and this is how I know that I was supposed to be here today, talking to you guys, giving you this information that I'm giving to y'all, because I'm meant to be here. I was meant to be here from 6 months old. My life has always been that type of a journey. My mother and should I say, my family, my dad was a very abusive man, as I said earlier. When I was a kid, I remember my mom having to always protect us from him at times. I remember things like hiding behind chairs. I remember her putting us in closets and telling us to be quiet and said, "Don't come out of this closet unless it's me." So she was that way. I don't know why I'm getting emotional, but I'm getting emotional, I guess, because now we're getting into my life. And I guess I just never even really talked about that part of it. But either way, my mom, she was a very, very, very strong woman. And so she created within me a lot of who I am. I had no idea how strong she was until I started seeing how she was later on in life. My parents wound up getting divorced. I was probably at the age of 7 years old. And we were going to stay with my grandmother. Now, when I went to stay with my grandmother, that's when I understood what religion was, and what I understood what the Bible was, and all these good things. I got into religion at the age of 7 years old. My grandmother she would send me to church. And by the age of 8, I was asking questions. "Grandmother, how is it that this man up in the front of that church, and what he holding in his hand, or the book, the Bible, what does it have to do with me? And why do I not feel the way they tell me I'm supposed to feel? And why do I feel like, how am I gonna go to hell with grandmama when, or I'm committing a sin when I'm just being me?" And grandmother always tell me, she said, "That's blasphemy. You cannot be talking about the Bible like that." But I kept my own mindset, and I was still where I was. So grandma, we grew up. As I grew up, I wind up getting into a life to where I was like class president, key club. I had a great life. I was a star athlete. I was I was really, really good at everything I did. My mom wound up getting remarried, and then we all went to California. And I followed my heart. I followed my love for my mom to California. Mind you, I had another brother. He was in and out of trouble. So he didn't get to come with us. So it was just me, my mom, and my stepdad at the time, which I learned to call him dad, no matter who he was and what he did. Hey. So as I go along in my life, I wind up we wind up moving to California. And when we moved to California, we had no idea the things or the impact that would make on my life as well. When we get there, we were homeless. I remember getting dressed in back of a U-Haul, and that U-Haul basically, that was my first day of school going there. So y'all know, you realize that I came from a decent place or good place to where now we had nothing. I remember getting dressed in back of the U-Haul, and it was okay to get dressed back there because we had dressers. The way everything was packed up, it was packed up in a rush. My parents were actually running from some things that they had done out there, written some hot checks, and life was just different. So yeah, of course we moved, but then nobody really knew that. So I'm actually giving y'all the spiel in regards to why we left. All of the good stuff that I had going on in my life. So either way, we go up to California, and there, my first day of school, getting dressed of U-Haul, I get dressed, I go to school. My parents pick me up. They pick me up in the U-Haul. We didn't go to shelters. We were in and out of shelters 30 days at a time in California. At that time, we were only able to stay at certain shelters 30 days at a time. So we was migrating from different shelter to shelter. And, as we moved, I always seemed to meet angels, or I always had people that were able to help me in my life. And I always seemed to be okay, like I remember, even though I was in a shelter, I would have like my coaches, and everybody would always wanted to make sure I was okay. And they would be like, Tronda, you could come stay with us. I remember staying at one of my coach's house in California, and my mom was still in the shelter, but my mom was like, Tronda, I want you to go ahead and stay there, because I think at that time there was things that I was my coach was wanted to give to me. And so my mom didn't want me to miss out on those things. So she's like, stay with your coach. Your coach would be, it's okay. So I stayed with my coach for maybe a few weeks at a time here and there. And my mom, she was okay with that. And when those particular situations were over, I remember we wound up getting a little studio, and we wound up staying with each other. But I guess I'm saying this to say this part of it, just to let you guys know where I'm coming from at that rapid age of, at that time, I think I was like 15. We wound up being homeless until I graduated high school. So we wound up finding a compound that allowed us to stay. We were there for like 2 years. And so when we were there, I wound up graduating high school out of a homeless shelter, and then migrated on to the rest of my life. And my mom, I wound up losing track with my parents, didn't know where they were, wind up going to college, but then didn't quite graduate college, wind up getting married, finding my mom. Then when I finally found my mother, them, it was like I went back to California, and we wind up connecting again, and some kind of way she winds up reaching out, and we find each other. Let's just say that to make it short. I did wind up getting married and having some children, and y'all, I got married, and in my marriage, it was one of those things where I had always said that I would not be in an abusive relationship. He wasn't physically abusive, but he was mentally abusive. So I wind up being a housewife, and I have 3 beautiful babies. And as my life progressed, I wind up getting into a situation where I might have moved into Atlanta. We got a divorce, and I want to move into Atlanta. And my ex-husband winds up kind of keeping my babies away from me. Y'all, I wind up signing paperwork that I thought would help the situation based off of the way he spoke to me and the new wife and everything. They told me that, if you sign this paperwork, we would go, you will always have access to your babies and this and that. And I wind up doing just that. And I wasn't mentally stable at the time. My ex-husband, even though I was in Atlanta, he was still in Texas. He could say stuff to me over the phone, and I would just shrivel up into just a ball, because I was still mentally in another zone. And I'm really trying to make this a long story short, but I just want y'all to get an idea about me, where I've came from, how I've grown, how I've healed, and why I'm now an inspiration, or why I want to be inspiring others. So either way, we wound up getting divorced, and I wound up moving to Atlanta. And when I was here, there was still a lot of control there. So my kids, to fast forward, it wound up being a situation where my kids were out of my life for over 10 years. It's like having children that were alive, but really kind of dead, because the way it wound up happening was that my kids didn't know who I was. My little girl, I remember the last time I saw her, she was at the time, she was only 2-3 years old. And I remember when he put me out the house, he was basically I saw her through my rearview mirror, and she was crying. At that time, my mother-in-law and them were there, so they got to see everything. They were there through the whole thing. How my kids might have been told that I left them to come to Atlanta to basically start work, but I actually didn't. I came here because I saw people like me that were successful. So anyway, I left my kids. I wound up leaving because my ex-husband, basically, he had put me out. And when I came to Atlanta, I came with $25 in my pocket. Didn't have a clue that it was going to be a situation where my children would be out of my life for as long as they were. During the time that they were out of my life, I wound up losing my 12-year-old. At the time, it was 12 when he passed away. He committed suicide. So I remember going down to his funeral, and I remember telling my ex-husband that you told me it was going to be okay. At that time, I wasn't thinking about the fact that I had the opportunity to speak with him or talk with him. But he wound up committing his suicide. And so when he committed suicide, of course, y'all, if you've ever had kids, you guys kind of know what that would feel like. I've only told this complete story of mine one other time, and this is my second time, and I'm doing it because I feel as though you guys need to know who I am. And in retrospect, you'll be able to understand why I feel like I should be doing this channel. So either way, getting back to my son and my daughter and my oldest child. So like I say, my baby, I wound up going to the funeral and everything. And I remember seeing my little one. She had no idea who I was. She didn't know who I was. She didn't know it was her mother at that time. And she had to be right around 8, 9. She was still a baby. So she really didn't know who I was. My oldest child at that time, he knew who I was, but he had been taught not to do much with me. And I learned that later on because he wound up coming here to Atlanta. When he came to Atlanta, he told me more of the story in regards to what he was taught. So long story, as we go along, making it short, y'all. So as I get older, as we grow, of course, and as time progresses, I wind up getting into a situation where my oldest child, he winds up coming to Atlanta. So he comes to Atlanta, and y'all, he works for my company right now. And my baby girl, y'all, she don't like me, but it's okay. She don't know me to like me, so I'm okay with that. Y'all may ask the question why I'm okay with it. Is because this is a part of the growth that I have within me. I've forgiven, and this is the healing part. I've forgiven my ex-husband. I've forgiven my mom. I've forgiven my dad. I've forgiven all of these individuals. I had already forgave them, and by me forgiving them, a lot of things started transitioning into my world, into my life, like the coming of my child into my world. I had already said, my friends and my family would tell you, like, they were like, Tronda, you should go after your babies. After my son's death, they were like, you should go get him. I heard that over and over, and I'm like, no, I'm not going to go get him. I'm not going to go get my daughter. I'm not going to go get my son, simply because they don't know who I am. But I'm guarantee you they'll come find me. And guess what they did? Well, guess what he did? He came and found me. My oldest child came and found me. He reached out on Facebook and he said, hey, hi, Mom. I want to get to know you more or less. And he came and looked for me. And I was like, that was like the most, and this had to be around the time when I kept telling everybody that they're going to come look for me. And when he did it, it was just as I spoke it. I spoke the words into existence. I never had a doubt that he was not going to come look for me, or that my kids would not come look for me, or they would not be able to find me. And they found me. Well, my oldest did. And as a matter of fact, my youngest, he actually found me before anybody else, because I hate to say it like this, by him leaving and going to heaven, he wound up finding me because of his energy and because of his purpose, because of who he was to me, because he was a part of me. He found me first. through energy, through uh, just being transparent with the way I feel about death and things like that. I feel like, just like when I was in my mother's arms, if I wasn't meant to be here on this earth, I would have been gone when he shot the gun, because it was the same side that she felt the saw and the other blood was coming off of. She had just put me down. She said not even a couple of seconds after she had put me down that she had been shot. She didn't even know she was shot. So when she's looking at me, she's bleeding and she doesn't know the blood is coming from her. My son that passed away, honestly, when he passed away, it was as though he was able to go into the universe. Now he's a part of the universe. He's a part of the world. He's no longer captive in his thoughts in regards to whatever that is he was thinking then. And like a similar girl, she doesn't know me. And I'm okay with it, because she will get to know me. And then what she does know of me is not all the truth. I just want her to know that, little one. But either way, my oldest lives, he's here now, and he's a happy kid. You guys are going to get to meet him later on, because I plan on interviewing him. Definitely he's going to be here to talk to us about his whole situation. Because I want you guys to see me. I want you to see who I am. And I want to be as open as possible. And I want to be able to help someone else who may be going through the same thing, who has probably even been through it. Because the thing is like, no matter what I went through, my mindset was always set on the fact that I'm going to be okay. And I knew that I was going to be okay, regardless to what anybody could tell me. Everybody wanted me to do one thing, but I chose to do another. And because I chose to do another, and because I chose not to listen to what everybody else told me, I wrote my own way. I created my own thoughts. I allowed my life to be what it was, as though I knew it would be. All right, so anyway, we're the present tense. We're gonna go now. We're gonna go here to where we are right now, y'all. As I said before, my oldest baby, he runs the business with us. He's my marketer. He's been working our business now since he's been here, probably like 5 years. And the last time I spoke about my story, my little girl had something to say, and she had her own way of thinking about it, and I get it. I'm okay with it. And I'm okay with it. Just know that I'm okay with it. You're going to be okay too. If she happens to see this, I'm pretty sure she's looking. And so when she sees it, she'll be able to tell me how she feels. And I'm okay with that. Like I say, right now, I'm in a relationship that I've been in for, oh my gosh, going on 16, 17 years. Oh my gosh, a long time. And this man has been in my world just as long as I've been in Atlanta. I always said that I wanted to find somebody that I could grow with. And those are my words. I wanted somebody that I could make a beautiful business with. And guess what? I wound up getting it. My husband is my partner. He's my partner of 16, 17, going on 17 years. And we've been working together going on 15. And we've been able to impact many people's lives, creating $1 million businesses for individuals, not just for ourselves, but other families. And we've been able to make an impact in regards to our community. And it's such a great feeling to be able to be where we are. So when I'm coming to you speaking about affirmations, I'm coming to you to basically tell you how I did it, where I came from, and why I am here right now speaking to you on my own channel about my life. Affirmations, for me, they're more significant in so many ways. The smallest words that you can say to yourself and about yourself, that is actually you affirming who you are. When you realize that your words are a manifestation of your entire existence, when you realize that your words are a demonstration of the image that you display, you realize that your control, that your mindset, your creativity is yours, and it's always been yours. So, I do want to, I'm pretty sure I'd have missed some things, but I just wanted y'all to understand my downs, how I grew, why that growth now for me is a positive. How it's a reinforcement of who I am today. Why it's so important to look at your past tense as a matter of positivity. Even if you've been through your hard things, that is still a matter of growth, and it is still can be looked at as positive. Because everything that has happened to me, I've been able to learn. I've been able to learn from it. I've learned whatever it is I needed to learn it, and I use it right now to empower myself to be the person that I am today. I learned to heal, and I learned to forgive. I learned to understand who I am as a person, who I want to be as a person, how I needed my words to be the antidote to my success in my life. I learned how to be an inspiration or inspire myself to do even more and more bigger things for myself and for others due to me understanding who I am. So the word I am, what follows is the affirmation. The way I think, what follows is the affirmation, the manifestation, the demonstration. So when I tell y'all that I am successful in thought first and foremost. I am successful who I am first and foremost. When I tell you that there's nothing that at this point, that I know that I cannot achieve, best believe that is the truth. So if I'm talking to you about how Tronda talks, it's because Tronda has been through a life that I'm sure not everyone has been through. For those who have been through it, learn from it. Don't sit here and use it as a pity party. Don't sit there and look at it as, oh my God, I did this and I had this, it happened to me. Look at it as an experience, because that's where your growth happens. That's when you turn that negative into a positive. That's when you change the narrative and you make your life yours. So I want to just say I'm just thankful for the opportunity to share this story with you guys. And I just want to say that I am so thankful about just being who I am this very moment again, at who I am today. This is Tronda Talks, Miss GHI with Grow, Heal, Inspire. Guys, thank you for tuning in. Go ahead and tap that button for your subscription. and hopefully I'm able to give you an inspiration in regards to our next conversation, because there's things I want to talk to y'all about when it comes to your happiness, when it comes to you creating your world. But the next episode will more than likely be me and my son. And I look forward to speaking with y'all. Bye.